Hello and welcome to today's European SharePoint and Office 365 community webinar. My name is Shane and I am delighted to be joined by Gokan Ozcifci, who will be talking to you about the good, bad and ugly part of Office 365 for large-sized enterprises. Remember to join in the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is ESPC16. After this webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any questions you have for Gokan in the questions panel, and questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded, and you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to our webinar presenter, Gokan Ozcifci. Hello, Gokan.
Hello, Shane, and thanks a lot for the introduction. I just got the notification, so everybody can see my screen, hopefully. Cool. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, merhaba, günaydınlar, bonjour, buenos dias, buonasera. From whenever country you are, whoever you are, welcome to all. Welcome to my session called The Good, Bad and Ugly, part of Office 365 for large-sized enterprises. Today I'm gonna have a talk for 1 hour at least about what actually Office 365 can offer to you. It's not gonna be a deep dive session, unfortunately. It's gonna be more a lot of information to share to you all. And it's up to you guys to have a deep dive afterwards and check if this, what I've given to you, fits for your organization. But before all, who am I? My name is Gokan Ozcifci and I'm a freelance consultant working for my own company called Neoxy in Brussels, Belgium. I'm a 4 years Microsoft SharePoint MVP, and recently I've been awarded as the Microsoft Regional Lead for the Benelux area for all MCPs and MCTs. My Twitter handle is the xGokan. Just follow me or just DM me, tweet me about your questions, your impressions about this webinar, and I'll be glad answering you. My blog is gokan.ms. It's not anymore a technical blog. It's just more like an announcements blog where I just hit all my pictures during conferences, my blogs, and my webinars, and my slide decks, etc. So you can just follow Gokan.ms for more information about my community career. This session, as all other sessions that I've made for European SharePoint Conference or SharePoint Saturdays or SharePoint Fests, any slide deck is available through docs.com/Gokan Ozcifci. So if you want to have a look at this webinar, this slide deck, or any other slide deck that I've made before, you can all download them by docs.com/Gokan Ozcifci. Okay, so let's begin. The purpose of this session is you will get some insights and tips about Office 365 and SharePoint Online, most of about SharePoint Online. You will see that actually TechNet is not always the answer for all your issues that you have, and that actually business requirements and budgets, that are the things that really matter about your projects. Opinions may differ, but this is my own experience because I already had this talk several times, and I remember in Oslo there was a Yammer freak. He loved Yammer, and when I said like Yammer is dead, he was like, oh no, this is not true, and blah blah blah. So everybody has his own experience. I know something I love, maybe another people just dislike it, and something that I hate will love it. So you know, this is my opinion. Just know it. For small enterprises, like, you know, as I'm a freelance consultant and I don't have any CEO or a marketing guy. I'm the only one in my company. And Office 365 hit for me. It's something that I will always be using. But for large enterprises, for extremely large, like 5,000 people, 10,000 people, well, then you have to think twice about why Office 365, because as a company, I don't have any process, I don't have any security guy, I don't have any governance. It's like I'm using OneDrive, I'm using SharePoint, and that's it. But in big companies, in big organizations, you have to think about processes, about the security. What can I put in Office 365? Legal stuff, etc. What are my homemade applications? Are they critical enough? Can they work with Office 365? I don't have that kind of problems as I am a small company. But at a large company, you have to think several times before saying I go to Office 365. And the purpose of this session today is I'm going to give you some insights, then the advantages of Office 365, and then the disadvantages of Office 365 with a few demos. So you have to know that in 2016, 45% of IT budgets will be allocated to cloud and or cloud initiatives, where 15% is actually for the public cloud. But still, 70% are still using on-premises topologies. This is for SharePoint, as for Exchange, as for Link. This is a global number. Thad Patton, Senior Director of Product Management for SharePoint team, admitted during MS Ignite, like if we have SharePoint Server 2016, it is due to 80% of Fortune 500 companies are still using on-premises. This is a huge amount. We are in 2016 and still 80% are using SharePoint on premises. I'm not saying that it will continue like this and in 2020 we will still have 80%, but the day of today, 80% is using SharePoint on premises. This means one thing. If the market is asking for on premises, Microsoft will still deliver on premises stuff. If the market is not anymore asking for on premises, Microsoft will not deliver on premises stuff. This is the golden message that you should keep actually in mind before beginning any new topology on Microsoft level for SharePoint. This is a slide from Jussi Ruan. Actually, this is the the evolution of SharePoint. We began at 2001. In 2003, we had the SharePoint portal server. Then we had the first steps of BPOS and BPOS-S. We had SharePoint Server 2010. Office 365 made its first steps, and then we had finally Office 365 SharePoint Server and SharePoint Server 2016. And this is a simple timeline that you can just see for SharePoint. On-premises issues. Well, SharePoint, as I'm always saying, is not it's not alone. You have a lot of stacks to manage when you are with SharePoint, like EES Server, like SQL Server, like SharePoint, and like Windows Server. Many administrators or consultants who are installing, managing, designing SharePoint, well, they don't care about best practices that Microsoft is releasing for them. They have too much application pools on the application domain. They just keep default SQL settings for SharePoint, and we all know that SQL Server has to be optimized for SharePoint. They just, well, we know SharePoint needs 24 gigabytes of RAM for the search, and we have a lot of companies who they say, no, 24 is too much, we only give 12 gigabytes, and SharePoint is then slow, extremely slow. And the bad thing actually on premises is that SharePoint Server is related to all other stacks. Like if you have an IT infrastructure related error from Windows to DNS to Web Application Frontend to F5 to Hyper-V, SharePoint Server will suffer. If your Hyper-V host is down, your SharePoint is down. If your network load balancer F5 doesn't work correctly anymore, your SharePoint can have issues. If your DNS server is not responding, you will be not directed to the correct server, etc. So, SharePoint Server is a lot of depending of IIS Server, SQL Server, and Windows Server. And if these stacks are not configured well, your SharePoint can have a lot of performance issues. Also, budget-wise, when you try to install SharePoint Server on premises, well, you have to pay for the Windows licenses, the SQL licenses, the SharePoint licenses, Office 2013 or 2016 licenses, Office Web Apps, or now the Office Online Server licenses and costs. This makes a lot of money for on-premises part. And just don't forget the maintenance and operational task. And a consultant, if it's an MVP, it can cost a lot of money. Upgrades, downgrades, monitoring, backup, tools like CSOM, like Nintex, ShareGate, AvePoint, and just think about what if your business is down. Because this is an example that I love to share with everybody. A few years ago, Ferrari used SharePoint for public-facing websites. I heard a few weeks ago that they aren't now, but take the example that they're using SharePoint and they're selling Ferraris through SharePoint server. And if the server is down, well, I think the cost of 1 hour of SharePoint server is huge compared to the costs and licenses, because it will give a stamp to your brand, your marketing, and think about if people are just trying to get a car, your SharePoint server is down. This is like, wow, they can't manage the website. And according to Microsoft, zero downtime is quite not possible for SharePoint. Having 100% of uptime is quite not possible. You may do whatever you want, install 100,000 machines. It is not possible having 100% of uptime. With SharePoint Server 2016, the patching of your infrastructure should be zero downtime if you have HR of min-role. Who knows what's the minimum required for HR min-role? I'm going to show it to you. The smallest supported min-role farm is 4 servers. So you need 4 servers in SharePoint Server 2016. You need a search server, an application server, a distributed cache server, and a front-end server. And if you want to benefit about the zero downtime patching, like you want to have 100% of uptime, then you need to duplicate the existing topology. Like you need 2 search, 2 application. Well, it was 3 distributed cache, but it has changed now. You can have 1 distributed cache and 2 front-end, which makes actually 7 servers and not 9. So 7 servers for SharePoint Server 2016 for having the zero downtime patching. But it's not all of them. So you have 4 machines for min-role, 5 for high availability. So you have to make a copy in another data center to be HA. So then you have the custom apps and addings. That means 2 more servers. The workflow manager, 3 more servers. Office Online servers, 2. And databases, +2. It makes more than 18 new servers for SharePoint Server 2016 with min-role, with zero downtime patching, etc. This is a huge amount of servers. And this is my chief, Jacques Daniel, and he says like, come on, guy, this is not possible. I'm not gonna give you 18 servers for SharePoint Server 2016, which makes a lot of sense because as a manager, he will see like SharePoint, it's a portal, it hosts SharePoint, it hosts sites actually, intranet, extranet, public facing, doesn't matter, it's only a few sites. And from that site, business should use that. Just upload documents, document management, content management, maybe just publish reports. Just using website. And as a manager, I can understand that he will say, okay, why do I need 18 servers or more than 18 servers? Because the 18 servers it's only for production. You still need qualification. You still need development environments. If you are still using full trust solutions, or just another development like add-ins or apps, you still need developers who also need servers and farms. So, the amount can actually be more than 20 or 30 servers. And as a manager, I can just imagine like, okay, I don't want to pay this. And a solution could be, yes, I go to Office 365. But before saying, like, I'm going to Office 365, you have to think about a few factors like localization and facilities, software licenses, hardware and maintenance, on-site support, level of customization, governance, disaster recovery, and upgrades and migration. These are the key factors that you have to think about before going to the cloud for large-size enterprises. This is actually a schema about, the blue part is on premises, the red is the cloud, and the green is the hybrid environment. And if you think about location and facilities on the premises, you still need space and maintenance. On the cloud part, it's most likely provided. And if you go for a hybrid environment, like I want to use on premises as cloud, then you need space as maintenance planning. For software licensing, Well, on-premises, licensing costs, but also upgrades and ongoing support. For cloud, it's included in the vendor-hosted solution. At the hybrid level, yes, you still need licensing costs, but also upgrades and ongoing, as you still have the on-premises part. For hardware and maintenance, yes, you need to purchase, support, and maintain and upgrade as platform matures. On the cloud, it's included in the vendor-hosted solution. On a hybrid level, again, you still need to do it. On-site support and personal skills, on an on-premises, you need an administrator, you need a developer, you need business testers, you need a lot of people. Just when you release a new site, well, there should be an administrator, there should be a developer, there should be an architect, a solution architect, a business tester, etc. On the cloud, you still need a few people, but it's less than an on-premises part, because you are limited, and I'm going to show you in which part you are limited in a few slides, but you don't need a lot of people as you need on an on-premises part. If we continue, well, the list is huge. You have the level of customization. On-premises, you can do a lot. On the cloud part, it depends. It's limited to none in a SaaS environment, some control over PaaS, and full control under EIS. On a governance, auditing, and security compliance, many limitations out of the box on premises. In the cloud, it's limited, and on a hybrid environment, it's the most complex thing that I've ever seen. Governance, auditing, security, on a hybrid environment, it's extremely complex. Disaster recovery on premises, you have to do it. You need to plan it. You need to check licensing. You need to have the knowledge in your organization for disaster recovery and business continuity. In the cloud, it's offered. It's defined in your SLA. You know, you pay for a service, and it's up to Microsoft or to another vendor to actually cover your infrastructure into an SLA. In a hybrid environment, it's extremely complex also. Upgrades and migration on premises, some out-of-the-box capabilities, but you probably need a third-party tool like SharePoint, like ShareGate, like Methodologics, etc. On a cloud perspective, well, you definitely need a third-party tool, and it's a recommendation of Microsoft. And on a hybrid environment, yeah, you have again some capabilities as you're using on premises, and you need a third party tool for migration to the cloud. Okay, so the advantages. The first advantages I should say is Jeff Taper, who is actually the father of SharePoint, made a tweet a few months ago, like, we have 46,000 of virtual machines running only for SharePoint Online, which is huge. It's just huge. I have no other words to say. 46,000 of virtual machines only for SharePoint Online. This shows you actually why Microsoft has evolved, and you know, they just put their knowledge of SharePoint Online into SharePoint Server 2016. They said, like, SharePoint Server is born from the cloud. This is true, because all the experience that they have gained with the 46,000 of machines, they created MinRow, they created the zero downtime patching, because they had to do it in the cloud. And SharePoint Server 2016 is born from the cloud with all the experience that they had. If you go to the cloud, you don't need to run and maintain any services. Everything is done by Microsoft. Customer own their data, that's for sure. And your data is stored in region, the primary as the secondary. These are the data centers, and I'm pretty sure I have to update this image, as we are going to have new data centers, but this was a few months ago still the 4 data centers that you could have in Europe. As you can see, in Ireland, it's most like Exchange, SharePoint, and Skype for Business. In Austria and Finland, Exchange Online, and don't forget Azure Active Directory, as Yammer services are only in the United States. We don't have any data center in Europe for Azure Active Directory and Yammer. All data is transportable and can be downloaded anytime, makes sense. And if data is accessed inappropriately, customers will be informed. I don't know how to explain this, because well, this is my data, and I don't want that people just watch my data, and Microsoft will inform you if somebody is doing that. It's a good and a bad thing at the same time, but just know it, you will be informed. and data is not mined for advertising purposes. Like, go on Facebook and have a chat with a friend about badminton. Or soccer, or whenever you want. Just have a chat, and 3 days later you will see soccer balls appearing as an advertise on the right side, like, we sell soccer balls for $10, or just badminton rackets for $10. Office 365 is not doing that. You will never see any advertising on your tenant, or they will not sell any knowledge about their customers to third-party tools for advertising purposes. Never about that. Another bad as a good thing, I don't know how to classify it, is that Microsoft can move your data to a new country. If there is a data center issue, wow, that's a cool stuff. Data center has a crash, Microsoft does anything to help you, and they move your data to another country. By default, you will not get any notification, but on the contact preferences, if you hit on compliance notifications, then you will get an email or notification like, be careful, the data has moved to a new country. I hope, and I don't know if they can move the data to the United States from a legal perspective. Need to check about that. Definitely, you will reduce your costs by moving to Office 365. You will have limited maintenance, that's for sure. You will only have 2 servers, like for the Windows Azure Active Directory sync, or the Windows Azure Active Connect via Connect, or the ADFS server, but all the SharePoint servers are just shut down, and you're just using the cloud topology. So definitely limited maintenance. Updates, you're not going to update your Windows server, your SharePoint server, or your SQL server. You don't have any consultancy right now because you don't have any complex issue anymore. It's just like any website is just using your SharePoint. No upgrades, everything is done by Microsoft, and you have actually limited scripting. From my own opinion is that everybody in big organizations has homemade applications, even for SharePoint. They have the custom framework, like site provisioning, like web app creation, or farm commissioning, etc. You don't have to do that anymore. You can still, and I will show it in a few minutes, the demo about that, you can still use PowerShell for Office 365, but it's going to be limited. It's not going to be like open a firewall rule on F5, create my DNS record, create my form, join my form, etc., etc. It's going to be really, really limited. In 4 clicks, you can actually work externally. This is actually one of the best things that I really enjoy with Office 365. It's you can just put your document on OneDrive for Business or on SharePoint Online, and just go on vacation, and you can just use it from the web if you have internet access. If not, you can, with the OneDrive for Business sync agent, open the document and work on it. This is just awesome. You're on a plane, you don't need to have any internet access. Every single document is on OneDrive for Business. Open the document on OneDrive for Business, work on the plane, and when you're on a Wi-Fi or in the internal network, in the corporate network, it will sync. And hopefully, it will work, because we know with OneDrive for Business we had a lot of issues. Normally, they all should be solved for the moment. Just go on the corporate network, connect your machine on the network, and OneDrive for Business is going to sync all documents with SharePoint or with OneDrive for Business, and you're all done. Remote working is something really, really cool with Office 365. External sharing, what can you do is you can share a document or a site with an external user. And what's an external user? An external user is someone outside your organization without any license. But be aware, having no license means that you can do some stuff, but not all of stuff. Like, you can't create a known personal site, you can't be an administrator for a site collection, and you can't execute searches against everything. You have quite limitations, but this is something extremely cool. Like, you have a project and you need consultancy from a leadware company, and the consultant get free access to a document or to a site, and you can just start collaborating with that external partner. this is something extremely cool, because we couldn't do that with SharePoint server on premises. And even you couldn't do that, you need a VPN token, you needed firewall exceptions, they should be on a DMZ zone, etc. A lot of stuff to manage, and you know, it was extremely costly. And now it's just only a few buttons, like click on it, and you can share a document or a site, and people can just work on that document or on the site itself. Backup and monitoring. Office 365 is continuously backed for disaster recovery and, you know, just for your data. The SLA is 99.x. I never saw that they have archived 99.99. It's always like 99.85 or 58. Depends on what it is. But one thing you need to know is backups are performed every 12 hours and retained for 14 days by default. You can request 30 days. I've asked, they said yes, but they will never go more than 30 days. That's for sure. Ask to Microsoft, ask to your technical account manager if you're using Office 365 to extend to 30 days and more than 30 days. I've never seen that. The RPO is for 1 hour, so Microsoft protects your SharePoint Online data and has a copy of the data to 1 or less than 1 hour, and the RTO is 6 hours. So if there is a crash, they can go and get your data for 1 hour, and they need maximum of 6 hours to resolve the issue. That is the SLA. The server monitoring is 24 on 24, 7 on 7, which makes sense. Okay. Storage. For SharePoint, as for OneDrive, as for Office 365 groups. For SharePoint, you have 500 megabyte per subscribed user, 10 gigabyte per tenant, and plus 500 megabytes per user. As I said, so you can just make the calculation like I have a tenant, so it's 10 gigabyte, I have 10 users, it's going to be 5 gigabytes, so 10 plus 5, it's going to be 15 gigabyte on your tenant. And you can go up to 1 terabyte per site collection, so the limitation of 100, 200 gigabyte per content database, etc. It's not here, you can go up to 1 terabyte on a site collection. OneDrive, from unlimited, it's now 1 terabyte. I don't know if you remember the story, but it was unlimited for OneDrive for Business. But I remember last year during the MVP Summit, they changed that because there was X people who put a lot of files to OneDrive for Business, and it caused a lot of issues in the background. So Microsoft just said, like, okay, maybe unlimited is not the way to go, and we limit this to 1 terabyte. Even that 1 terabyte is a lot of place for storing personal data. And on Office 365 groups, 1 terabyte storage per document library. This is actually the storage. OneDrive for Business, as I said, it's 1 terabyte. I'm pretty sure nobody has 1 terabyte in his home home directory under the Microsoft or under the corporate network. I'm pretty sure you only have 500 megabyte or 1 gigabyte in best cases. Microsoft offers you 1 terabyte. Upgrades, always managed by Microsoft. Upgrades as patching. This is a good thing because you don't have to care about stuff. But the bad thing is, what about features that are disappearing or coming to Office 365? And therefore, you have the first release, so you can have a beta tenant or a test tenant where you can actually activate the first release and check stuff. But this is a quote from Jeff Tipper himself during SharePoint Saturday Toronto, who said, not everybody should be in first release. If you only have 1 tenant and you don't have any beta or zeta or alpha tenant, just select a few users to be in first release so they can check if their new changes are coming, and they can just adapt their way of working if there is a big change. But be aware that not everybody should be in first release. Only a few people. That's it. Yes, there's a simple image like timeline, all users. Okay. Delve, one of the most powerful engine behind Office 365. Delve will actually show you insights about yourself. This is an example of Satya Nadella, who is actually having 16 hours of meetings, and he defined his goal to be at 20 hours. This is a good thing, so he is doing less than he actually planned. But as you can see in hours in email, he defined his goal to be less than 9 hours, and it's now 9.6 hours. Focus hours, after hours, etc. You can define your own goals, and you can just ask to Delve through analytics to analyze yourself and give insight about yourself. One of the questions that I've gotten a lot of is like, can my manager see that? Because this will show actually to you if you're working efficiently or not. The official answer that I got is your manager can't see this. This is only for you and only for you. Nobody else can see that. And this is actually not a metric to you. It's not something like you need to do better or not. It's just like a mirror. It's like, this is you. This is the way how you are working, and no more than that. Another cool stuff is like collaboration through analytics. You know, as a team member, you participate to projects, you have a lot of maybe customers, a lot of partners, a lot of employees, and you can actually see that Satya Nadella is actually working a lot with Louis Snyder. He actually read 90% of the mails of Louis Snyder, but if you check Diana Campbell, the last one, actually Satya Nadella is not reading at all the mails of Diana Campbell. And you see that actually a red flag, it's going down, it says, be careful, you are losing contact with Diana. On the right side, you can see that losing touch with people. Satya Nadella is losing touch with Brandy Edelman, Damia Matos, and Gopi Patel. You know, it will give you some insights about yourself and about your collaboration with team members. And another cool stuff is the last part is the dashboard of groups. You know, you can have a Delve analytic for a set of group. You can have a project like, I'm going to release a new product at Microsoft, and my development team is in Australia, my marketing team is in Europe, and my headquarters is in Seattle. You can see like on the world map that there's communication between teams. But if something goes wrong and you are based in Seattle and you can't know everything what's going on in Melbourne, well, analytics can help you, because analytics will show to you like, be careful, communication is 10% less than last week between teams in Europe and Australia, which actually will give you insights like, oh, what's going on? Why is there 10% less communication between those two teams? And it will definitely help you resolving issues between teams. And even if there is no issue, it will show you like, okay, your team's work map, you have more than 800 mails sent through your teams, 70 meetings, 250 Skype calls, and 90 Yammer communication or collaboration. All about metrics and numbers, all about insights. I'm going to show you a demo about Office Delve and Delve Analytics. As I said to you, this is my tenant. I said, okay, if you have customers, if you have partners, if you have a lot of employees, that's an awesome tool. It's like, wow, you can have a lot of information about Delve. But what if you're like me, the only one working in a company, as I'm a freelance, about Delve Analytics? And this is the bad part of Office, of Delve Analytics. As I showed to you, I can edit my goals, like my meeting goals. I can say, okay, I want to work less than 10 hours, and I'm going to save that. And you know, it has been changed, and it needs a few hours or days before getting that. And voilà, here. The bad part of this thing is, if you are the only one working in your company, well, this is a screen that you will get. It makes sense because I'm the only one, but yeah, I just don't like this screen. It's like empty. It shows like, and there is no way of hiding this screen. Like I'm gonna just hit on right click. I can't. I can just add or edit your managers by email, so we can get this, but there is no screen like or an X button like I want to hide this. Another cool stuff that I want to show you is this one. I discovered this yesterday. I'm actually more reading mails than writing mails. This is something that I never knew before. And through analytics, Delve Analytics, I can know that. I'm actually reading mostly like 2 hours of email, which is huge. And I'm writing like 0.6 hours of emails. This is simply wow. And you can even have analytics like percentage read by others and read by you. Actually, I'm never, people are not reading mails, or they just read mails through sent to a group. And you know, you have a lot of analytics, and this can be very, very useful for marketing campaigns, for people who has issues between team, or just follow up for projects. This is something really awesome. But yeah, again, as I said, the cool stuff is you get insights and metrics, etc. But the bad stuff is if you are the only one working in a company, you can't hide screens. Okay. Maybe as we continue, Flow, Power Apps, and the SharePoint app. You know, the good thing with Office 365 is you always get new stuff on Office 365, and you have actually flows. Which actually no more than something like if this then that. How do you begin that? Just go to flow.microsoft.com and create a new flow, and you'll see actually you can have a lot of SharePoint stuff in Flow. I'm not going to explain what Flow is because everybody already had a talk about Flow, but it's just for showing you like, cool, I only have SharePoint Online. Flow is a good thing. That's the good part of Office 365. But the bad part is I only have SharePoint Online and not SharePoint Server. I'm going to show you my flows, like so you can have a look on it. I have 3 flows. I'm going to open maybe the Methodologics Roadshow. I made a flow. If it opens in a few seconds, then I maybe, yeah, it opens. So I have a flow like, on SharePoint Online, when an existing item has been modified, and this is my site URL, this site, and this list name, the ID of the list name, if this has been modified, send me an email. Like if somebody is modifying an item in a list, send me a mail to this address, like item has been changed. And the good thing of this is that you can add new steps, like I can add an action, like I did now, if then, but you can also add the condition, like if something is true, then add an action, otherwise do nothing. The good thing is that you can, yes, make complex flows, but the bad thing is that it's really linear. It's just like if not, if yes, do this, if not, do nothing. You can't go like an in-text workflow through a million of stuff. It's just really linear. It's like one line. And that's the bad thing, actually. I'm going to show you the app. If you give me a second, I'm going to connect through my iPhone. AirPlay here. So you can see my screen of my iPhone. And here I have the app of Flow. The good thing of the flow is that actually you can see your activity of your flows. Like, okay, I had the 3 flows that I showed you, the Methodologics, the SPS Paris, and the test. And they're all failed because the site is not existing anymore, and you know, this stuff. That's a good thing. You can have actually a view of all your flows through the app. You can have a view on all existing flows, but if you hit on the plus button, the bad thing of that application is it's going to forward you to the website. There is no actually out-of-the-box way to create a flow through actually the application. It's actually, this app is only for viewing stuff, and hopefully with the vNext or with other stuff, other new stuff coming around, we could be able to create flows through the app. Then you also have the SharePoint app. It's again the same thing. It's you know, for viewing stuff. I have my sites. Strange enough, if I search for the SharePoint, I'm gonna search for SharePoint. It will just give me 3 sites: the Neoxy customers, the events and the flow. But if I search for SharePoint 2015, I'm getting another site. And if I search for 2014, I'm getting a new site. So again, another stuff, I just don't understand how the logic is behind the SharePoint app, and I just can't get all sites. I can get files, that's for sure a good thing. This is all my professional slide decks that I've made for conferences, and I can just hit on it. I will check, and you can just preview your documents. That's extremely cool stuff. You can just connect through one application and then go to SharePoint Online. People, as I said, I'm the only one, so you can't see a lot of stuff. And recommended, no results found. This is through Delve, but it should be integrated in a vNext. Okay. And the last demo that I want to show you is Power App, and we still have 20 minutes left, so we'll just continue with the presentation. So OneDrive for Business, we all know, we all have file service at corporate, in our corporates, and file service, it's cool, it's okay, but they don't have the power of OneDrive for Business. With OneDrive for Business, you can work offline. You have 1 terabyte of data in Office 365. It's 10 times maybe better than a simple file server who stores your file, and when the server has an issue, everybody has an issue. No, it's not that way of working. It's you have your OneDrive for Business, stock your personal data in OneDrive for Business, it's synchronized with Office 365 from your computer, work offline. Kill that network share and use Office and use OneDrive for Business. This is the key message. As I said, you have new features coming to Office 365. You will actually have first release users so they can test. On on-premises part, you could always check, like we know Service Packs is coming every 12 months, cumulative updates. Every 2 months, 3 months, you'll get new cumulative updates. But off-premises, like we had Office 365 videos, and now we have MS Stream. The good thing is, wow, we have a new website. We have a new, we have a new feature who is called MS Stream, who actually helps you uploading and categorizing videos. But what about Office 365 videos? It's like, okay, now we have 2 platforms, and I'm pretty sure Microsoft is going to release a roadmap like how to integrate Office 365 videos and MS Stream, or they will just release white papers like, okay, this is the way how you should actually shut down Office 365 videos and take other videos to MS Stream. But the day of today, it's confusing people. It's like, okay, I just migrated everything to Office 365 videos, and now I have to use MS Stream. It's like, no. I'm not going to spend this year, again, money to migrate everything. That's the thing, the bad thing that I want to give to you. It's a cool thing to have new features, and we'll love it from an IT pro perspective, from a developer perspective, we'll love it. But from a management perspective, it's like, again, a change. That's the message that I want to give to you. Only one URL. To remain, to give to your customers, to your partners, to your employees, login.microsoftonline.com. You can just connect through that URL, check your mails, connect to SharePoint Online, business, Skype for business meetings, etc. As I said, you can even work offline with OneDrive for Business. But the main message here is you have only one URL. Before, you had to connect through VPN, access a server, give your password, give your email. You maybe received an SMS code, and you had a lot of things to do before getting a simple document. Now it's just like connecting and getting every single document that you can get through Office 365. And think about, like, the day of today, if you want to scale up your farm, it's quite difficult. Like, you want to extend your SanDisk, or you want to have a new server, you want to replicate your configuration of your SQL server, or you have network latency issues. and you want to make an audit on your network, you have a lot of things to do, like go to your manager, ask for budget, ask for an RFC, have a talk with the storage people, explain why you need 1 terabyte more on the sun. They will say, okay, we will do it, but we are just busy now, we will do it in 4 months. After 4 months, they just forget it and will ask you 1 more week. When they do it, they will forget any configuration, it will not work, and blah, blah, blah. A lot of stuff to do. With Office 365, none of all of them. Everything is done by Microsoft. We know how many storage you have. You can just buy storage. You don't have to configure, manage, or maintain any virtual machine with Office 365. SQL Server configuration is done through Microsoft. And yeah, maintaining a PowerShell framework, it's really simple to do. I'm going to just pause this one. A few words about Office Online Server. I've seen a lot of customers using SharePoint Server without Office Online Server because they have to pay 2 more servers and they have to pay for the editing mode of Office Online. Just know it's free when you're using Office 365. So if editing a document through your browser is a business requirement and you don't have the money for having more servers in your SharePoint Server park, well, use Office 365 because it is inside and it's free. Okay. Now, people are scared, like, okay, if I go to Office 365, I maybe will lose my job. It's not actually that one that you have to check. It's not like I will shut down only my SharePoint server. It's actually more than that. You will actually free up storage. You will actually you will not have any dedicated antivirus anymore. You don't have to take care about backups and restores. No servers, no disk, no Hyper-V host, no clusters, no licensing stuff. It's actually not only SharePoint server, but it's also all other stacks that works with SharePoint that actually is free now. As you don't need to do any restore of Office 365, well, you don't need to backup it anymore. As you don't have any storage from Office 365 on your server, you don't need any disk. This is the stuff that you have to take care about and to think about. It's not only SharePoint server, it's all other stacks around SharePoint. I'm going to pause this one, but just know it, in Office 365, multiple people can edit the same document at once, and you can just see who is working on the document. You can also collaborate and begin chat on a document with several people, as you can see on the screen. You have Clutter, who is actually something new since 1 year and a half. There is just an intelligence behind Clutter. You just click on an email, you say that this email is Clutter, and it will go to your Clutter folder as it's considered as a non-priority email, and you can have a look to Clutter when you have time. Yammer. We all know, I'm not a huge fan of Yammer, but you have a lot of people and company using Yammer. On SharePoint server, well, a lot of things are deprecated. Even the web part is deprecated, and you need to, get the code and pass it on your SharePoint server. Just for your information, in Office 365, it's 10 times better than on SharePoint server. So if you want to use Yammer, but your servers are not internet facing, just be aware that Office 365 offers this to you, and you can just use it inline to every single site. Searching for sensitive data with Office 365, and now with SharePoint Server 2016, you have the data loss prevention. In a few words, you can simply say to your SharePoint Online, like, if there is a document with a credit card or US Social Security number, the SSN, the document cannot be stored in Office 365 or in your SharePoint server if you're in a hybrid environment. This is new. This is something that you can do in Office 365, which was not the case with SharePoint Server 2013 or 2010. It's something extremely new. And a few days ago, Microsoft just released the Office 365 network. It's a new site who actually helps people from the Office 365 network finding discussions, finding topics, asking questions, liking posts from the product team directly, replying to posts from the product team directly. It's simple. As I see, it's a new platform who will replace Yammer. But maybe I'm the only one thinking that, but maybe it's too early to say that. But yeah, it's yet another platform that you can use for Office 365 networking. I'm going to skip, as we still have 10 minutes left, I'm going to skip the demo, but this is the URL. Just surf on network.office.com. It's in preview, it's new, it's brand new. Create your account, and you can just see every single post from the product team, from MVPs, from MCMs, etc., all on network.office.com. Now, the drawbacks. We all have seen the advantages of Office 365. Now, a few drawbacks. Design is actually one of the drawbacks of Office 365. People are, they love designing and modifying sites on Office on SharePoint server, and they want to do the same on SharePoint Online. But you have to know that you can't do that. You can't actually modify as you can do on an on-premises path SharePoint Online. You can do a lot of you can do actually small customizations, like I can put a logo, I can just change the background color, etc. But that's it. And the SaaS platform, the software as a service, is not meant for modifying and customizing the SharePoint Online websites. So just be aware, design is quite not possible. And a lack of full-blown central administration. We, as an administrator, as an architect, as a developer, we are just we love using all options possible through SharePoint server. But with SharePoint Online, actually, you will have limited functions for managing your SharePoint environment. A few examples that I've given to you is like the ability to control the list view threshold. You only have one web application. Still not enough analytics. Microsoft promises last year at Ignite that insights will become available, but it's still not the case. It will be in a few weeks, I hope. It's going to be one of the biggest things to announce at Ignite, hopefully. And a lot of fine-tuning options such as quota templates, resource, and request throttling. Well, we don't have that. It's just like a few options available in Central Admin, but that few options is capital for managing. And all the rest, well, just forget about it. It's not SharePoint Server, it's SharePoint Online. So you don't have all the options necessary. Software as a service, not all service applications are available. And even if they are, not all functionalities are available. Just think about search. On SharePoint Server, you have fast search, and in the cloud version, well, you have a few options available for the search. You can do limited PowerShell automation, and you can just do limited custom framework, and I'm going to show it to you. I have here my script. You connect. I'm going to just hide the password, etc. The classic stuff. I'm going to connect to my tenant, and if I just get all commands of SharePoint Online or Office 365, well, these are all commands available for SharePoint Online. And you can see it's not a lot of commands. I'm pretty sure it's like 40 commands. For SharePoint Server, we have 900 commandlets. And for SharePoint Online, only 40. So if you want to create a script, a framework for site provisioning, for user provisioning, for licensing provisioning, you can use these commandlets. And I'm going to show you a few details, like you can get all your sites. If you want to create a script, like I want to get all my sites, and from all these sites I want to get all users, etc. You can use PowerShell for Office 365, and you will see actually he will give to you all sites available in your tenant of SharePoint Online with the owner and with the storage quota. It's all 1 terabyte. These are the owners, and these are the sites. I will just continue. Like, what can I show you as an example? As we are just limited in time, I can just block a user. Like, okay, this user is not going to connect anymore in my tenant. I can change attributes, like MolDD is now in France and not anymore in the US. and it's going to be changed and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to share this script also so you can just use, and this will give you insights about how to create a framework for Office 365. Okay? I'm just continuing. The roadmap, you know, Microsoft has a good vision, like we will deliver cloud, mobile first, cloud first applications, and it's all well good. In 1 year, we had Delft, Analytics, Clutter Groups, videos, Stream, Edge Planner. We had Flow, Power Apps, the apps. We have a lot of cool new stuff coming through Office 365. But again, for big organizations, it's like, okay, how am I going to change that? Because in a small organization, you only have maybe from 1 to 10 people working, and it's easy to adapt. But from an organization where you have 10,000 of people, you will definitely have some managers who will say, no, I don't want to change, because this application works very well. And if I change from a homemade application to Office 365 videos, I will lose integrations that I had from my homemade application to other applications. Because if you use, as an example, Office 365 videos, it cannot be integrated, or it will have no integrations with other platforms, which will actually block some migrations to the cloud. So, you know, having a lot of cool stuff is good, but the bad thing is, yeah, big organizations, they just wait until the homemade application is dead before moving to other stuff. The governance, when there is a ticket arriving now in your corporate, it's like people will call the help desk. Help desk will try to resolve the issue. If not, it will go to the second line. Second line will try. If not, it's going to be to the third line. Third line going to check. They will say, oh, we need maybe a service pack update. Then you need to go to the incident management and say, hey, I have an incident. I need to install a service pack. You will go to the change management, open the RFC for change, and you know, there is a flow, there is a governance in a team. Tomorrow, if you go to the cloud, you have to see every single process that you have in your organization to make it cloud ready. Because you cannot install a service pack to Office 365, or you cannot install a CU. So, you know, some people will not lose their job, but the processes will change. Like, people will not maybe call the help, no, people will still call the help desk, but help desk will not go to second or third line. They will just open a ticket at Microsoft. You know, you just change the way of working. And this is quite important. I know that a company in Belgium just refused to go to the cloud because they had more than 200,000 processes inside, and they just don't have time for reviewing every single process. You don't have any B plan. What if Office 365 is down? We never had, I can't remember seeing Office 365 down for several days. We never have seen that, but yeah, what if it's the case? Because I've seen on Facebook an excellent code. There is no cloud, it's just someone else's computer. And for people who really don't like the cloud because they're just doing job protection, well, this can be a valid point. Like, okay, if my Office 365 tenant is down, my business is down. Just be careful with that. Yeah, a lot of other stuff, like you don't have access to the correlation IDs, you cannot troubleshoot, continual updates can cause strange errors, you may have to use different management tools, and you know, all this stuff I've explained to you. And the last part is groups. I'm a huge fan of groups. I just love groups because when we used Yammer, it was a standalone stuff. It works on its own, and they tried to integrate it with SharePoint, but it failed on so many levels. But you have now groups, who is actually, this is actually a perfect slide to shows you, like, in one group you can have Outlook, OneDrive, OneNote, Calendar, Skype conversations, etc., all in one group, and it's a perfect way to collaborate. But you know, you still have few limitations on groups. What I'm missing is it's still Exchange-centric. You still don't have any SharePoint of OneDrive for business integration with groups. It still works as its own, Yammer at least, and there is no integration with Yammer. And the list is just huge. Like if you want to delete a group, there is no soft delete. If you delete a group, it's just deleted. Types from public to private cannot be changed. It was the case, but now it has changed. So you can still, you can actually change from public to private and from a private to public. Anyone can create a group. That's a bad idea. And, you know, you cannot delete a conversation. Like if your manager is writing something to a wrong group, like I'm going to fire my CEO or my CTO or my CFO, he cannot delete what he wrote. He has to delete the conversation. And yeah, connectors. I never use connectors, but yeah, no, it exists. You have a lot of connectors that you can use in groups. The roadmap, yeah, you'll see on the fasttrack.microsoft.com. They are doing a lot for groups, like deletion recovery. As I said, there is no soft delete. It's going to change. If you create a group, there is no expiring stuff on groups. Everybody can create, everybody can do. Now you can actually set a date and say, okay, after 6 months, this group will expire. Wonderful stuff. And guest access support, like external sharing, will become available on Office 365 groups. Every single component that you're seeing here is actually on the fast track of the Microsoft site. What they're now rolling out for groups is this one. A lot of cool stuff coming to Office 365 groups. As I said, I've never said this, but the session name is the good, the bad, and the ugly part of Office 365. And as you can see, every bad thing that I'm saying to you, Microsoft is actually working on it. And they're just releasing new and cool stuff for resolving all that issues. And I'm pretty sure everything will change in a few years. Because I remember when BPOS was released, and it was one of my first projects, and I failed on BPOS. And when I'm seeing Office 365 now, I really can't imagine what's going on in 5 years. Just imagine a world of Office 365 in 2020 or 2022. It's going to be one SIS platform who will rule everything. Just think about that. So the summary, Office 365, it all depends on budget and requirements. Office 365 is good. It's awesome to work with. But if you don't have any business requirement, well, yeah, you cannot move. And budget, yeah, if you're limited on the SharePoint server farm because it requires a lot of servers, well, then you can go to Office 365. And if you don't have any business, if you don't have any legal stuff to manage. Many people said like, hey, hybrid is a topology, a temporary topology who will help you move into the cloud. But just be aware, hybrid is still a valuable architecture. It makes still sense the day of today, as not every single document can go from a legal perspective, at least in Europe, to the cloud. As said, imagine Office 365 in 5 years. And this is a tip that I'm giving to you. Every greenfield deployment, and with greenfield I'm saying like you don't have SharePoint, you don't have Exchange, you don't have Skype, or just only you don't have SharePoint. And if you have to begin from scratch, Office 365 should be actually the way to go. Just don't go to SharePoint server if the business requirements fit Office 365. That's it. I've tried at least in 1 hour to explain the good, the bad, and the ugly part of Office 365 with a few demos. I'm going to share this slide deck, and I'm pretty sure Shane will also put the video on the website. I'm going to also share my script, so you can also take that script for creating your framework, at least for managing SharePoint Online and Office 365. And I'll be glad answering your questions now.
Thanks, Gokan, for a great presentation. We're a little bit over time, so I'm just going to go with one question, Gokan, if that's okay. And that is Dev Analytics for only Pacific subscriptions? This person is commenting on how they have a mixture of E1 and E3 and they don't see the analytics feature.
Yes, it's only for E5.
E5. Okay, that's brilliant. Gokan, thank you so much for your time today. And there is a few questions about the webinar. It is being recorded, and yes, I will be sending out an email to everyone later today when it's available online, and I will have the slide deck and everything else available. Gokan, thank you so much for your time today. That was a great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you to all.
Okay, everybody. So for more top quality training from the world's best speakers, look no further than Vienna for the European SharePoint Conference, where Gokan will be giving 2 talks at the European SharePoint and Office 365 Conference on the Wednesday and Thursday. See SharePointEurope.com for full session details. That's it for now. Join us again for our next webinar on Thursday, August 11th, 2016 from 1 to 2 p.m. CEST. Thank you and goodbye.